network alignment problem. And first, let's take a look. What is the network alignment? And this network alignment from the problem formulation is the same concept, right? So for every paper, all these 11 papers, we give to a student, we talk about the same problem, but we got the same, totally different solutions. Each paper, they sell the different things. And first, let's take a look. What is the network alignment? Okay, so this is corresponding to given two graphs. Doesn't matter, it's two graphs corresponding to, right? In the paper, we talk about the interaction network, protein-protein interaction network, but it can also be used for social network and the city streets network and internet network, any kind of network. Each graph can be used to represent one of network. We want to compare two graphs corresponding to, we want to compare the networks of the same type. And we use this G1 to represent the first graph, and it consists the vertices and also consists the relationship of vertices and also the weight in the edges, right? So then in this regular way we represent that. This is G1 and also have G2. And so this will be equal to V2, E2, and also W2. The network alignment corresponding to find a mapping. You want to align these two graphs, right? And corresponding to find a best mapping. Or in the paper, they call the best alignment. And since it's the best alignment, you can treat this one as what? As A, right? A, capital A, alignment. So this alignment, what is an alignment? This element is a specific function and map V1 to V2. In a more general way, which corresponding to more general way corresponding to, actually you want to find the A, which is map. Let's write it down here. Let's write down the next line. I want to move to here. So find the best alignment A, and this A is from G1 to G2. And so since this data, as what we mentioned, which include the vertices and the edges, and such that only consider V to V mapping is not enough. We have to consider topology structure corresponding to how this data, how these people are related, how these proteins are related in the graph, right? In the social network corresponding to people, how people are related. In the biology network corresponding to how these proteins are related. So we need to consider both. And such that in this paper, and they mention A is decided by. So here first, this alignment corresponding to, you want to find this function. And then you have to make sure this is best, right? So corresponding to finally, you need to get the A, and this A should be a matrix. From this matrix, you want to find the best A, right? Best A. So you want to get this one. So this one will show you what its alignment could be, right? So let me just, say this is the U1, this is U2, and this is the UN. And this is the V1, V2, and this is the VM. And each, this V belong to V2, right? Capital V2. This should be capital, right? Capital V2. And this of this one, which is belong to is belong to the capital V1, right? Because the capital V is get from here. This is capital, right? And this is also the capital. Yes, right? So let me give you a picture, then you will see. So let's see a picture. The picture, let's use the paper's picture. And let's use this example. It could be more difficult example. Let's use this one. So let's say this is this is the graph in the first. This is G1, right? So this is the A, D, B, C. And then another graph, which corresponds, let's use different color. So this is G2. And in the G2, the mapping, the structure is in this way. Right? And so this is the B. And this one, and which is the, and here they also have a relationship like that. So let's just say this is the A prime, this is the B prime, and this is the D prime, right? This is C prime, right? So this corresponding to all this A V1 is equal to A, B, C, D. Yeah, then the order doesn't matter. And this is V2, which is equal to here, which is A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime, right? So this is what we talk about. So this is corresponding to the here, A, B, C, D, A prime, B prime, C prime. So you need to make sure what is this guy, right? What is this guy? So this score is equal to 2 part, right? Let's see. So this A is decided by different properties, and this A is a score consists of different things. Consist of what? Similarity score, and this similarity score included weighted, what? Weighted 2 part. And so this should be weighted, right? And so included weighted the topology part, topological similarity, and also the biology similarity, so I will explain what does mean for that. And this one corresponding to interaction score. So for each this score, you can say this is A, this one consists of this one. And you can also imagine it is in this matrix, every this guy, we say this one, if we say this is the U, this is the I, let's say this is the IJ, right? This is a score of IJ, right? This is score of IJ. Corresponding to the VJ, and this corresponding to UI, right? VJ, right? So, and you can imagine every point here, everything, they will need to have this specific numbers. And such that A, you can treat A as a matrix, and each this guy, topology similarity, biology similarity, all of them are matrix, right? All of them is matrix. It's clear? You treat them as matrix. Now let's see here. So in the paper, they use different term. Let's also use that. And so this is the T. And the T is also matrix, right? And this one, let's say is B. And this one, total of here, we treat as S. Total here of I. Can you see that? So the A matrix will be equal to A, the whole matrix is equal to, and the paper they use the specific parameter, free parameter. And the free parameter, which I remember is alpha, is this one, lambda, right? This is lambda. And this is S plus 1 minus lambda times. And this one is times the I, right? S came from here. And S is weighted function. And so it's a weighted function, so they use two parameters. One parameter is lambda, another parameter corresponding to alpha, is alpha. So this is alpha t plus something. I heard a lot of voice. I heard a lot of noise. Let me mute that. Excuse me. And then, so this will be 1 minus alpha, the b. So this corresponds to this one, right? Can you see that? So this A, B, T, S are matrix. This matrix is the same. All of them are matrix. It's the same as what we showed here. It's the same as what we show. This is the U1. Same as what we, just like this one. Right? So, and the same thing here, same as what we drew here. And this is U1 and this is UN. All of them came from capital V1. And this is a column corresponding V1, V2, and Vm. All of them came from capital V2. Right? So this is the same as what we drew in the previous picture. So corresponding to every this kind of matrix, they want to fill this one. So corresponding to finally, the more interesting is the final results. This is what we want to retrieve, right? So, but to retrieve this guy, we need to get this one, and also get this two, right? And such that we'll take a look, go back to here, and take a look. Let's check this guy, right? And then we say which part can be always changed, which part can be. What is the procedure? So first, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the T. What is this T, right? What is this T? This T. Let's take a look at this one. Is okay? Let's take this one, right? The T. And the T, this is T matrix corresponding to topological similarity matrix. So this is the topology. This is a topology. Topological similarity matrix. Okay, and then so let's take a look. Since this is matrix, and we care about the I and J, right? We care about specific item here, right? So corresponding to the Vj and Ui, right? We care about what is this value here for each this matrix. Let's say Tij. And Tij, so the concept of topology similarity corresponding to, you want to check what is the influence from the labels, right? For example, if you say I vertex I. And let's use a different color to represent. So if it's a black color corresponding to from one graph, the first graph, and this is I, and this I has different labels. We use Ni to represent all these labels, right? For example, one of the label is U. And then we use this one, we use this color to represent another graph. And this is J. And this also have different labels. And let's see these labels is capital NJ. And one of the label of J, which is V, right? So this could be V, no, we just label that, right? This V is different from this V, this is any kind of V, right? And this is belong to NJ. And also let's move this one a little bit. So this guy, U is belong to this guy, right? This one is belong to this one. Right? And then so we say Tij, this is equal to, because we have to consider all the labels, and such that this is suppose is equal to all the labels pairs, right? So because here, even although we draw it in this way, we just draw the vertices, but we can see here, if this is the Vj, and in such case, the neighborhood relationship, just like this one, right? Just like the barrel heap we discussed. So if this is the Ui, the neighborhood is just like that, right? So when you consider the topology of Ij, you may want to consider the topology from the labels. And such that, let's finish that. So such that you want to check for all these pairs, all these mapping pairs, right? So I will give you an example. And so this will be Tu and V. And also U, which is came from Ni. And V is from Nj. Right? And so this is the summarized the topology similarity from the labels. But this is not enough, and we wanted to normalize that. We normalize that by maximum, the maximum of what? Ni, the number of labels of I, and the number of labels of J. We use this sign to represent the numbers, right? This sign, this two sign, right? And N corresponding to labels. So let me give you an example. So let's see, you can see here, let's have a recursion happen, right? The T recursion happen here because this one, you want to get the topology similarity for the labels, right? And then so you will use the same method to get the topology similarity for the labels. So since these all treat them as the matrix, they will be good to say iteration 1 and iteration 2. If this is iteration T, this is next iteration. Did you remember when we talk about the Bellman algorithm? In the graph, Bellman algorithm, which is dynamic programming, let's call the Bellman-Ford algorithm. We talk about that. This Bellman-Ford algorithm is used to solve what? All pairs shortest path. All pairs shortest path. Did you remember? So we see that once they do have recursion in the graph, in that case, it is we wanted to solve that. We need to solve that. One of the things we can solve in this way. Use the iteration. We write it for multiple times. Every time we change it. Every time we go to the step 1, step 2, step 3, step n. Just like that. It's the same idea. You use iteration to see how it change. Okay, so this is shortest path. Okay, let me see it's clear or not clear. It's clear or not clear? Good? Okay, thank you. And then so did you email to team member? Did you email to team member? Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, that's good. That's okay. They may have some difficulty to attend. That's fine. So this is the t calculation, right? So corresponding to, let's say we initialize the very beginning for every this pair, and we initialize to be 1, right? For any I and j, which is belong to, let's use M, right? M corresponding to here, the matrix here, right? Let's say, no, let's even use the more general way. And let's say earning, I belong to, what happened? And this is I belong to capital 1, and J belong to capital V2, right? So you initialize in this way. And such that also in the paper to convince you this T calculation, this especially this iterative, this is recursion, the iterative algorithm to implement recursion. So in this case, we use this one to represent the different iteration. So T corresponding to number of iteration, right? So which iteration it is? Iteration. It's clear? This number of iteration, okay? T corresponding to that. This next iteration, they will adjust this Tij topology score for this one, right? So in very beginning, let's check, right? And let's just check, let's see, still we use this graph we talk about, right? And let's say we copy this one. We copy this one, then we move to here. Let's say give example here. And I paste here, right? I paste here, I move and paste here. And then also correspondingly, I clean a little bit. Okay, so this is these two graphs. Now let's say we wanted to fill in this number, this T, right? So T is the matrix. And let's use this color to represent. So let's say we wanted to fill in this T. We initialize this T by 1, right? So based on this discussion, we wanted to initialize and then so we draw the this have 4 loads in the x-axis. I just randomly to draw that, right? And then I also draw here. So this is also for this guy, right? Currently the draw is not so nice, but let's see if I can change it a little bit better. Okay, so this is the A. Let's write down. This is the A, B, C, D, right? And this is A prime, B prime, C prime, and D prime. This is the T we want to calculate, right? Let's use example. So to fill in all this one, initialize, fill in all this one, take time. Let's use B as the point, right? So initialize, everything has been initialized to be 1, 1, 1, 1, right? We want to say why? The reason it is this guy, if we map to each vertex, if we do not consider topology, they usually same structure. But once we consider topology, this result should be changed, right? This is the idea. Now we see here, if we want to align B with B, right? Let's say B with this B could be aligned, and it corresponds to you want to fill this number, right? So if you align this B with B prime, and you find out B is represented in this way, and B is connected with A, C, D, right? And what do you have the B prime, which is connected with B prime actually just connected with 2, right? It's A prime and D prime. And such that when you consider the topology similarity between these two, right? So you need to consider is this one with this one, how conserved they could be, right? How many possibilities they could be similar. This is topology similarity. And such that, so this one, A could be mapped here, A could be mapped here, right? And C could be mapped here, C could be mapped here. D could be mapped here, could be mapped here. This is C, consider all the possibilities. So if you only take a look, this one and this one together, right? Then they form another graph. This is the people call complete bipartite graph. Bipartite graph is the people call. So, but doesn't matter it is. So we need to fill in this guy, right? Fill in this guy. And since the initialize is 1, and let's take a look. Currently, we want to calculate T in the first iteration. And we care about is the first iteration, B with B prime, right? And so this is equal to, as what we mentioned, the formula, this is equal to maximum of N, B, and M, B prime, right? Did you remember, right? And also the upper part corresponding to the number of the summation of T0, the previous iteration, right? All the labels. The U belong to NB, corresponding to here, right? Corresponding to here. And they belong to the NC and NB prime, right? So corresponding to this is the, let me write it down, use different color to separate them. This is the NB, right? And this is not a different color. This is NB, and this is the NB prime, right? Can you see that? And such that, so if you consider, let's finish that. This is the U and V, right? So we see in this case, this is equal to, when you summation of them, and this is value here, this is each guy, the corresponding to the T, right? The T, the previous one. This corresponding to the T, the previous one. Corresponding to, let me draw a picture here, you will see. B connected with A, C, and D, right? And the B prime connected with A prime and D prime, right? When you consider all these values corresponding to, you check every this compilation, right? So you compilation with this guy and a compilation with this guy, compilation of this guy and this guy. So you have to add them together, right? So when you add them together, what do you get? What do you get? How much you get? And hold on. Then one more thing it is, although they have different mappings, but you only want to count which is conserved mapping. Corresponding to here, corresponding to this one, I think the formula here, the reason it is I heard about the noise, and this one, I think I write it wrong here. This should be this one. I'm sorry, I got distracted. So this should be belong to the mapping, right? Should belong to the alignment, A, and also U, which is belong to NB, and V belong to NB prime, right? So this is the condition for this summation. And the same thing here, same thing here. So this one should not be this case. I have to rewrite that. So just got distracted. And so this should be summation of, it should be summation of T and UV, right? And so this U and V, this should be belong to the alignment. And also, and U belong to N, capital N, U belong to capital N I, and V belong to capital N J, right? So let me know if too much details. And since this one, we consider the aligned part. So we didn't explain to you what is aligned part, right? So we said here, if you have 3 vertex and you have 2 vertex here, and this is just possible A can map to A prime here. A could map to A prime D here. But A can only choose one to map, right? They cannot choose multiple things to map. A can only map to some of vertex here. And also, it's a lot of vertex here can also only map to one of here. So corresponding to this summation here should be 2 divided by 3, right? So this is the first iteration. And the second iteration, let's see second iteration. And so in such that once you figure out this one, you want to check the best mapping, right? Best mapping corresponding to A, this one can only map to 1. You can select one of this one, right? Or then you have this D be mapped here. So this reason only have 2, but the maximum is 3, right? And then so after you figured out here, you have to change this one to be the final results. Now from here, you want to check, maybe check B, maybe can map to another one, right? So you can check, for example, the B map to, which one to map? Let's say C prime. And when you map the B to C prime, which corresponding to B still have 3 labels, and C only have 1 labels, right? And such that you make the graph like that, you say B is connected with A, C, D, right? And then the D prime is connected with the C prime. And you would like to check all the possible mapping. And from all the possible mapping, you only maybe choose one to map because only one probability. So this is 1 to 1 is 1 to 1 vertex to vertex mapping, right? Since this is considered the mapping topology, and such that this T2BA, you can imagine this is 2 parts. One part, the bottom part corresponding to maximum of this number of connections, right? With the previous one, with this guy, right? To check how many maximum one. So it's 3. And also check the minimum connection here corresponding to, right? Because how many you can could mapping, only the smallest, this one, depending on this number, right? So this is 1. And such that, and after that, you go back to here and to change. So in that case, this is 1 and this is 3. And then so 1 by 3 corresponding to, so this is have 2 things we need to consider, right? The bottom corresponding to corresponding to the smallest labels, maximum labels of B or D, right? You check maximum labels. And then the bottom corresponding to, because you consider all the in the mapping. In this one, only could have 1. This is only have 1 could be phyllo A, because this is 1-to-1 mapping, right? This is just a possibility. You have this one could be mapped here. This one could be mapped here. But this D prime can only be mapped to 1. But you have 3 options for mapping. Okay, so and Yes, you can treat it in this way. Yeah. So you follow this procedure, you can fill in all this one, right? And you can also say here it is, the another one, when you fill in another one, you may fail to use this what you filled these results, right? So it corresponding to, you check for multiple times, every time you use the for loop, right? Use the for loop, check for one iteration, and the second iteration, you based on the previous results, and refine this topology similarity. Okay, so this is for calculate topology similarity, and then let's check for this is the t, right? This is the t. Let's use this one to represent the calculation, right? And then second one corresponding to calculate the biology similarity. And this is corresponding to the most likely related to sequence similarity, but also change a little bit. So the author also consider the relationship. So corresponding to, if two proteins are more similar, the conserved proteins also if the labels are mapping and the labels are more similar, then what you have this mapped I and J, it could be more similar. So let me draw a picture. You may feel clear. So let's say this is the vertex I, right? And this is the vertex J. I use a different color for J. So this is J. And I use different color corresponding to the came from different graphs, right? So I and J, now how similar this one really depending on the I prime, which is belong to the N I, label of I, and this J prime is I of the one of this kind, all of this one, right? Is J prime. No, this is belong to NJ, right? So you use different color to represent different graphs. So if the labels are very similar, and then in that case, if this one also mapped, then in that case, this could be more similar. And think about, right? Think about the social network, right? So, and both of you may have different friends, right? Different friends, maybe have you send a message to your cousin, right? Definitely you have different cousins, right? If for some reason one of your cousin and is is very similar to you, and the cousin of the second one, right? And then in that case, the cousin of the second one, in that case, it will contribute to say this I and J could be very similar. It's clear? Right? It's clear? So if they are very similar, such that this could be also similar. So you want to check the contribution for this similarity based on the labels. And such that the author, they use B, right? They say in very beginning, when we check in the very beginning, this I and J, we only consider protein-protein sequence similarity. So corresponding to, let's use this one to represent. This will be a little bit different from what the paper mentioned. Paper use P. We use a sequence alignment. A sequence alignment of I and J. And then we want to normalize that. When we normalize that, we use the maximum from all U belong to of capital V1 and V belong to capital V2. And we check the sequence alignment, all this U and V. And we use maximum one. This just so normalize it a little bit, right? So this is use totally sequence alignment for this case. And then they want to say, I still want to consider labels. Once you consider labels, recursion happen. So this is T plus 1. We can use matrix for calculation. It's equal to B0. Hold on. So although this is for matrix, but in each matrix, we have to fill in each item, right? We use this one to represent we fill the item. So this will be equal to B0, I and J. And also here, And also use the free parameter to use it to say, give the weighted, right? To say how much influence could be. And you can adjust this W, this beta or alpha and lambda. They use 3 parameters. And you can adjust these 3 and such that you can make a different weight on each part. So the first part corresponding to purely the sequence alignment. And the second part corresponding to the similarity score, the biology similarity from the labels. So then in that case, you want to take a look the biology similarity of I prime and J prime. And I prime is from the Ni, and J prime is from Nj. Can you see that? And also, an I prime and J prime is supposed also belong to alignment. In the paper, they use M, but it's the same. And after that, it is normalized this one by the maximum of the Ni, the labels, number of labels, and the number of labels of these two. So this is the sequence alignment. So corresponding to, you consider the contribution from the mapped pairs, or you consider from the neighbors, right? Can you see that? So in this case, it is since this is recursion in the graph, every time when you see recursion, you can consider use iteration. You can treat the whole matrix, right? Work on the whole matrix, and then so through the summation, use this formula. You know, corresponding to, when you fill a matrix, corresponding to from the for loop, right? 2 for loops. Any questions so far? It's good? So this is the second calculation. It's good? It's good so far? So far so good? Thank you. How about Havana? Thank you. And then so we finish the second calculation. And the second calculation, based on this one, we say each this one is calculated the matrix, right? So this is we already have no T. We already know the B, right? And from here, we can get S. Can you see that? So this is for calculate the S. Calculate S. And S is equal to Sij, which is equal to they use alpha, right? Use alpha T Ij. This is the final results, right? The previous one, this is the iteration. Use iteration to represent, and once it run for many times, it will get the results, right? So this is the final results of this one plus final results of Bij. So in this case, they calculate the similarity score. And so in this one, this S, you may find out this S, even without this S, doesn't matter how many. So you can independently calculate this B, calculate this T, right? Independently calculate. And also S, you can independently calculate. And such that once you go to this step, and you are supposed you already get this S, we have matrix now, right? And then so we see here, so this one just consider the topology structure. This topology structure of the graph, once the people give you a graph, this topology structure is a fixed structure. And such that when we talk about this A, consists of all these scores. This could be static score. Corresponding to, doesn't matter how this interaction, the contribution from the interaction, how it could be useful or not useful, doesn't matter. corresponding to for every alignment, right? We said if for give a graph, you could find many alignment, right? So one of these, let's say alignment, you could align here and here, and you could align here, and you can also line here, right? Or here. This is one type of alignment. You can also align in another way. You say, okay, B is go to here, and A is go to here, D is go to here, and C is go to here, right? The different color here correspond to different alignment. So, and when you take a look at this components for this A, the alignment score, and you may find out the similarity score doesn't matter how this alignment happen, and they will count in the same way. They will count in the biology will be in the same way because the topology, this topology, how this D connect with B, and this B connect with whom, and this is fixed. Since the fixed, this one could be static. This one could be static over all the alignment, over all the alignments. But this I will be different because when you line in this way, right? When you line the B with D prime, and such that the A, B, A, D, C, because B is aligned, and such that the B could make a contribution to help A to map to some another one, and D can help D map to some another one. And such that, so when the B and D got mapped, this interaction will help adjust labels. And such that this interaction score is dynamic. This is dynamic over all the alignments. So we have to handle that dynamic over all the alignments. So we have to handle them individually. And such that if this S is static, right? S is static, and I could be changed. I could be changed, and this A could also be changed, right? And such that we can fill in S matrix, but for I and A matrix, they have to handle that individually. And such that, let's take a look at the algorithm, right? Take a look at algorithm. Then we go to check how to calculate this I. So now I intersect algorithm, the procedure. Let's see the pseudocode, right? Pseudocode code of procedure in the high level. To see the relationship between what we talk about, the different calculation with the final results, right? So here we use this one to represent. Let's say since it's very important, I use this color. I use orange. So this is the lighter. This is G1 and G2. And in this one, so here we assume, let's assume or require. And we require, this is same as the paper mentioned, we require V1, capital V1, the size of capital V1 is smaller than or equal to capital V2. Because when we compare two graphs, definitely should have the size should be, vertex size should be equal or one is smaller. So we have a first step, and the first step, which is the construct. It's the same as what we discussed the order. It's the construct. Construct T, right? Corresponding to topological score similarity. Corresponding to what we have the T. Okay, and then the second step, and corresponding to construct biology score matrix. This is exactly the order with what we have. Construct the biology score similarity of B. It's matrix, right? And then the third step, which is the constructor S, right? So corresponding to calculate S. And as we mentioned, S is equal to alpha T plus 1 minus alpha B. So this is easy to calculation. It's just matrix multiplication, right? And plus, right? And then so the first step. And the first step, which is to construct interaction score matrix I, initialize. This is correspond to initialize. I will explain what is this I. Initialize interaction score. Interaction score matrix corresponding to the I. This is corresponding to I0. You can treat them as the I0. And then so the fifth step, and also if you already have S, if you have I, so let's say this is I0, right? So this I0, we use this one to represent this, not the power. It's just an iteration, right? So also initialize what we have the A0. And A0 is the same as what we discussed, right? Now, did you remember? It's A is equal to lambda S and this formula, right? So we can go to here and use that. So this is lambda, and here the lambda alpha, which is the free parameter. Free parameter corresponding to, you should just treat them as some constant, and they can specify this number arbitrarily, and use this one to represent the different weight, different balance. And also, if in the future, if they need, they can run it many times and find out the best this kind of parameter. Currently, you just treat them as the constant. And then, so this will be equal to lambda S plus 1 minus lambda I, right? And also it's 0, not 0 here. S should be static. There will not be change. Once you figure out this S, you can always use that because topology not change, right? Can you see that? Because they just consider topology. They really don't care about real mapped or not real mapped, right? They just say they only have that number could be mapped, right? So they really don't care about who is mapped, and so that is static. So this one they initialize this I and A0, right? So most important, once you get I, you can always change A, right? Now the question it is how can we get the I? And also to make it clear, we want to make sure this I will be changed by the iteration. So how by the iteration? Okay, let's leave this one, right? Leave this one. Because if we write it down here, if we start to write it down here, you may confuse with all these kind of things. We just leave here, right? So now we want to say how to calculate I, and later we know once you have I, you have A, right? So this procedure, this big 6, used to represent how this I has been changed. So now we wanted to check the calculation of I, then we go back here and fill in, right? So we want to check this I, what it corresponds to this I. So let's say this is 6, no, how many, what we have here? This is calculate S, right? Okay, we keep the same as before, and this is the 4 big step, right? Big step. And this is the 1, 2, 3, 6, which go to the algorithm, right? This is algorithm steps. And for us, this we see the calculation, the formula calculation, explanation steps, right? So now we want to check, how to calculate. Let's say how to calculate I, right? So this is the question for us. And first we have to understand what is this I corresponding to? And I is interaction. And why this ij, this I, what is influence of this I and j? So let's say, give you short example, right? Small example. This is I, and this is the J. If this one got mapped, right? If they get mapped, then in that case, so the labels, these labels, and this is I prime, this I double prime, and this triple prime, right? And so this I prime, they also have the labels. And this one also have the labels. Same thing here. And the J, they have labels, and the J have another J, this J prime also have another labels, right? So the child relationship and the grandchild relationship. So to understand the I, we have to understand the different terms. So one thing it is, I and the J could be mapped. This depending on originally. So we say I and J, if the interaction of A and J happen, it's really depending on the contribution from the labels, the mapping labels, right? And they want to check it is the minimum, the dependency, minimum dependency. So now let me write it down. What does mean the dependency? Let's check dependency. Dependency corresponding to, let's say this one, right? It's dependency of I. Dependency of this I, corresponding to probability of the labels can be mapped, right? So dependency of this I is equal to probability of. So if I and J can be mapped and such that only when the I and J has been chosen, and so since the I has 3 labels, so to the dependency of I for each this guy, which is the 1/3. So this is the labels, I labels, the number of labels of I, right? Because I have 3 labels. When the I is mapped, and then each these labels could have 1 probability to be mapped, right? Only when the I is mapped. So this is corresponding to the dependency, corresponding to probability, because this one is I interaction score corresponding to estimated number of conserved interaction adjacent to I, right? So this is a difficult concept, but let's just step by step. This is the probability of neighbors, a label of I. Label of I can be mapped. A label of I can be mapped. So I has 3 labels. Each label have 1/3 of possibility to be mapped, right? So this is a dependency. But when you check original version, is IJ corresponding to, when you consider these labels, right? And these labels also have the labels. So you may need to consider what is the possibility for the grandchild labels. So the author claim and the original version here should be minimum. The minimum of summation of all these labels. So the probability, right? This is I prime, and I prime, which is belong to Ni. It's tricky, right? And also here, J prime is equal to Nj, and you want to check the probability of J prime. So to explain this one, so the dependency of I is probability of which this label how much this neighbor, what probability of this neighbor can be mapped. And each this guy, so we say if you have 3 neighbors, and each neighbors also have dependency to the grandchild. And such that is use minimum probability. The summation of each this guy from here and here, right? So you see the mapping of this one, I and J, is depending on the summarized grandchild probability being mapped. So I think this also used this way. The reason it is, this is a 2013 paper, and they want trying to make sure this is considered not only one single step neighborhood. They want to consider the step 2 neighborhood. They want to see the probability of summarized probability of these labels, the probability of this dependency from the grandchild. Okay, and then so after that it is divided by maximum for all the vertices. Check the labels. You check the labels. I suppose to use different color. So let me change this one. I need to use different color. So this is go to the maximum of all neighbor the vertex degree. This n is labels, right? And so you can treat about the degrees. This is degrees. And this one also degrees. So this is check all the vertices. And union capital V2. Capital V2. So this is get normalized results. So this is the original version of IJ. Later, users think about they need to change that. So this is the original version. So this is corresponding to I0. This you can treat them as I0, right? This is in this case, they just consider the neighborhood. And such that they do not consider the dynamic mapping. They really do not check is I and J, is I prime or J prime is mapped or not mapped. They just say the probability of label could be mapped, right? So, and such that is the I0. And after that, it is the also consider different things, right? Let me show you. Now I want to sort this graph. So we see that if U is the vertex, and in the G1, and U has I as the label, right? I is the label, and so we know U has been mapped to. Let's say use the color, use this one, right? So this is the we draw in this way. This is V, this is J. And we already know, and U and V is already mapped. This is mapped. So UV, this one, which is already belong to alignment, already mapped. And now, if UV is mapped, and what is the probability of what is the estimated estimated conserved and estimated number of conserved interaction. They consider now to talk about the conserved interaction, right? Corresponding to if I and V, it is mapped. For this interaction, UI and JV, how many possibility or what is the score alignment between the UI and the JV, right? So this is the concern. So this one is a little bit tricky. So let's see here. If U and V is mapped, right? So we consider, let's see, we use this one, right? We want to calculate the DI and the J. We want to calculate the DI and the J based on the mapped U and V. Corresponding to this dynamic process. First, you pick up, go to here, right? Go to here. And we see, well, still have vertex, still V belong to capital V1 is not mapped. And corresponding to, you randomly pick up 1 from V1 and map this one with the best score with the G1, right? You select one pair. Once you select one pair, then, in that case, you can trigger the calculation here. You trigger the calculation here, right? So here you assume UV has been already mapped. So corresponding to, in this step, corresponding to here, you find an aligned load, the vertices in the V1, find the alignment, this one, right? So for example, this is U, right? This is U. So find the aligned load and such that the U, the V, which is in the capital V2, and we have U and V mapped, right? So it's belong to capital A now, right? That A corresponding to alignment and also corresponding to the score, right? The score, final score. So if you don't like it, we can put as the capital M corresponding to alignment. You find this one, and then you can do calculation. After you do this one, you calculate. From here, you calculate all the adjacent I and J. So in that case, you change I, and then you change this I, right? So here, I is equal to 0, and I is equal to 1, right? Start from 1. Then you calculate this I, and then I plus plus. Now let's see calculate AI, right? We already talked about A0, how to do this calculation A0. And then, so once U and V has been mapped, so you consider different things. One thing it is the conserved number, right? So Dij corresponding to, let me write it down here. This is equal to the number of conserved interaction that is adjacent or to I. So this is the number of conserved interaction. We say once U and V is mapped and I and J, they could be mapped, right? So this is corresponding to, if this is T plus 1, and this will be equal to D Ij T plus 1 if I is belong to NU. So corresponding to, once I and J is mapped, this is the conserved interaction, all these labels for U could also be mapped, because this is the estimated number. This is estimated number or expected number, right? So in that case, this is also could be increased. So and J also belong to NV. So all the labels, this is matrix, right? Matrix. Or if all else, it will keep the same as I and J. And for this one, or else, otherwise. Okay, and then so this is for D. Actually, in this calculation, and they do not use this D. They just see the dynamics, right? So when the I and J is mapped, and such that, and this guy could more possible to be mapped. So this Dij should be influenced. Same thing here. So corresponding to Di di is equal to di, right? Di corresponding to the di is equal to what? I think I didn't. I need to write it down here. So the next thing to consider is a constant interaction matrix. So corresponding to when this one, U and V, has been mapped, and in that case, the I and J should be mapped, and you have to consider the dependency from U. And so how to consider dependency? We see that is the dependency from, based on this U, and the dependency of this one is equal to what? Equal to NU, right? This dependency here is this is the NV. And we see we have to use this one, right? When the V and I, when the U and the V are mapped, and such that something I and J, they mapped, this because the dependency, and such that they more possible be mapped. And also corresponding to something has been recalculated, you want to cancel them out. So this is corresponding to C1 and I, and C1 corresponding to from the graph 1. And this is T plus 1, right? The iteration. And this is equal to C1, I, and T plus the dependency. So this is NU, the size of NU. Or this is I, this is T. And the condition here, it is if I belong to NU, right? So when you consider the grandparents has been mapped and such that it will have different influence to labor, interaction, how much conserved, how much, probability get, interacted, got an interaction mapped, right? This is the one of the things they need to consider, and this is the otherwise. And this is the same for C2, T plus 1, and J. It's the same. So since the same, I just leave that. And then, so this, U, this I, IJ. The previous one is I0. This one corresponding to IJ. You can treat them as T plus 1. And T plus 1 here is equal to minimum D1I. I will show you what is D1I, and D2J. So this is so many calculation here. And then so maximum, and this is the size NK. And this is the K belong to V1 union V2. And so this is the, if this is should be T, and this should be T. And then, so this T, which is consider the interaction. So this is C1, I just should need to use 1. And then, so this should be, hold on, this should be T, yes, T plus 1. This should be T plus 1, yeah. And then, so this T plus 1 is equal to, and equal to all the summation of grandparents, grandchild from, is grandchild from I, is corresponding to, if I go back to here, is corresponding to when U and V has been mapped, and you may need to consider its grandchildren, right? So this is what we have the I prime, and this is what we have the J prime. This is J prime. So you consider what is the estimated conserved interaction also for them. So this I prime is came from here. And after that, it is you need to, this is the Ni prime, the size. And minus, what you have the dependency C1 I, and this is T plus. And you can see here, based on different iteration, this will be always change, right? Always change. And then so this is the for D1 I, and then you can have D2 J, and this is T plus 1. Okay, this is the same. And then as of such that, and you can imagine, so when you go to the different iteration, and so this I, this iteration, let's use T to represent. So in that case, IT should be changed and AT should be changed. Go to the next iteration, and this T also always change, right? And here you find out every vertex in the V1 has already been mapped. Then you can stop. And because V1, the size of V1 is smaller than the size of V2. So in that case, they guarantee every vertex has been mapped. Okay, and then so when they map that, they consider the topology similarity and consider sequence similarity, and also the map the interaction was corresponding to conserve the interactions. So this is the paper. This is the paper they emphasize. Okay, and then so we finished this discussion. Any questions so far? Then so for this project in your team, we have 4 to 5 people. So this paper is not perfect paper. There are many things you can think about how to change. For example, what you mentioned, this one, change 6, step 6 is fine. You can change 6. Now, question is how do you change 6, right? And also we have 5 people. And then so 5 people, we definitely want to make sure everybody you have a different idea, right? You can discuss them to have a different idea. We really don't want 6 people have the same solution, right? Same proposed solution. So, and you can propose your solution, and our student can also think about, even for this topology side, is clear or not clear. And also, you may find out, so this topology has been emphasized in different places. So when they calculate topology here, the very basic steps, T, right? T, they already consider number of iterations. And then once you go to the sequence side, they also check for the topology. This is also topology side. So this paper very emphasizes topology actually. And also go to the interaction here, they also consider this is the topology actually. So for me, they emphasize topology a lot. And so you may need to check if you play with, if you cut out a little bit, if you say I do not consider this one, just for example, right? If this is biology similarity, this is the B0, right? We have a B0 here. And if you do not use B0, you change the whole thing, this part, to be another thing. For example, you can use so check a goal similarity. When you check goal similarity, just check goal similarity of proteins, and you can find out which is talk about functional similarity. And the functions of normality corresponding to category of each protein. I think they will be more useful compared to this one. So people can think about how to do this one. And also, so we see every graph, go back to here, right? Every graph not only have a single W weight, right? Edge weight is 1. And sometimes, especially for this protein-protein interaction network, we use confidence to represent this interaction. In the social network, that weight corresponding to how strongly this friendship could be. So this weight also should be considered, and such that all what they mention here totally include that. So this paper is not perfect. There are many things you can conquer. You just see how do you want to conquer. You can propose that. Then if you're interested in the summer, if you have nothing to do, you can continue to work on that. If you're interested, right? You can continue to work on that, to implement, to check, to see your proposed idea, good or not good. This will be very good paper to talk about. So this one actually for me, I think, they kind of look very fancy, but in many things it is not so nice actually. Topology emphasizing everywhere, but they claim in the way it's kind of misleading. Okay, so you can think about that and try. Yes, and then so for this part, how do you want to change? Yeah, how do you want to change this one? Yes, definitely I agree with you that. Agree with you. And also rethink about this one. Can we put this one step also here in a summary? So you can rethink about that, definitely, yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay, that's good. How about Havana and Mahanthi? Okay, that's good. So if in the future, if in the near future, right? Near future. So if you have question, you can still you can ask me or email to me. You're welcome to do that. Okay. So Thank you. I think maybe that's it. So how about the Mahanthi?